The grocery store was unusually quiet that rainy afternoon. Customers moved slowly through the aisles, and the sound of soft background music echoed faintly. Near the dairy section, a small girl stood nervously, clutching a worn coin purse. Her shoes were scuffed, her coat a size too big, and her eyes fixed on a gallon of milk in the refrigerated case. She reached for it, her tiny fingers trembling, but her expression shifted when she noticed the price tag. She opened her purse and counted the coins carefully. It wasn't enough. She glanced around, then spotted a tall man in an immaculate suit entering the aisle. His watch gleamed under the fluorescent lights, and everything about him screamed wealth. Taking a deep breath, the girl stepped forward and said softly, "Sir, I need this milk for my little brother. He's sick. I don't have enough money, but I promise, when I grow up, I'll pay you back." The man stopped in his tracks, his expression unreadable. He was a millionaire, used to people asking for things, but never like this. He studied her face for a moment, then glanced at the milk in her hands. Something about her voice, her determination despite her small stature, caught him off guard. His next words would change everything. For a moment, the man didn't say anything. He simply looked at the little girl as if trying to understand how someone so young could speak with such certainty. "Why would you promise something like that?" he finally asked, his tone calm but curious. The girl held the milk tighter. "Because, people keep telling me promises don't mean anything anymore. But my mom said they do. She said if I give my word, I have to keep it, no matter how long it takes." Her voice wavered slightly, but she stood tall, refusing to look away. The man raised an eyebrow. "And what if I never see you again?" Her answer came without hesitation. "Then I'll find you. I'll make sure you know I kept my word." He almost smiled, but instead, he crouched down so he could meet her eyes. "What's your name?" "Emma," she whispered. Something about that name struck a chord deep inside him. He didn't know why, but it made him think of a memory he'd tried to forget. Without another word, he took the milk from her hands, added bread and a few other essentials to his basket, and headed toward the register. Emma stood frozen, unsure if he was about to help her or walk away forever. Emma followed him slowly, her small footsteps almost silent on the linoleum floor. At the register, the cashier greeted the man with the kind of politeness reserved for someone important. Without looking back, he placed the milk, bread, and other items on the counter. The cashier rang everything up, and the man paid in crisp bills. Then, to Emma's surprise, he handed the bag directly to her. "This isn't charity," he said firmly. "Think of it as an investment in your promise." Emma's eyes widened. "You mean, you believe me?" "I believe you," he said, his gaze steady. "But there's something you should know, Emma. When I was your age, I made the same kind of promise to a stranger. Only I didn't keep it. I've thought about that for years." Emma clutched the bag of groceries to her chest. "Maybe this is your chance to fix it," she said softly. Those words hit him like a punch to the gut. It felt as though this tiny girl had just read a page from his own hidden regrets. He didn't know her story yet, but something deep inside told him he had to. "Come on," he said finally. "I'll walk you home." Emma hesitated, glancing toward the rain-soaked streets outside. "It's not much of a home," she admitted. The automatic doors slid open, and a gust of cold, damp air swept over them as they stepped outside. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but puddles reflected the streetlights like pieces of shattered glass. Emma walked ahead, holding the grocery bag carefully to keep it dry. The man followed, his polished shoes splashing through the water. They passed the rows of tidy houses with lit windows, but Emma kept walking, turning down narrower streets where the lights grew dimmer. The sidewalks cracked, fences leaned, and stray cats darted between shadows. Finally, she stopped in front of a small, weather-worn building. The paint was peeling, the front steps sagged, and one of the windows was covered with cardboard instead of glass. She pushed the door open, revealing a dim hallway that smelled faintly of damp wood. "This is where you live?" the man asked quietly. Emma nodded, not meeting his eyes. "We rent one room upstairs. My mom works nights at the diner. She's trying to save money, but," her voice trailed off. He noticed a second-hand heater in the corner and a thin blanket folded neatly on a couch that had seen better days. Then, in the corner of the room, he spotted a small bed where a boy, no older than 5, was sleeping soundly. Emma set the milk down on a tiny table and whispered, "That's my brother, Noah. He's been coughing for days." The man looked around again, his jaw tightening. He wasn't sure why, but something told him this wasn't just about a gallon of milk anymore. The man took a slow breath, his eyes scanning the small room again. Everything inside spoke of survival, not comfort: hand-me-down clothes, a few mismatched dishes, and a single photograph of Emma, Noah, and a tired-looking woman who must have been their mother. He turned back to Emma. "Where's your dad?" Her gaze dropped to the floor. "He left when Noah was a baby. Said he was going to get work in another city, but he never came back. Mom doesn't talk about him anymore." The man nodded slowly, sensing there was pain in her voice she didn't want to show. "And your mom works nights at the diner. Who watches you two?" Emma straightened her shoulders. "I do. I'm the oldest. I make sure Noah eats, does his homework, and takes his medicine, if we have any." There was no trace of self-pity in her tone, only determination. It stirred something in him, an echo of his own childhood. He remembered the nights he'd gone without food, the cold winters with no proper coat, the helplessness of watching a parent struggle. "Emma," he said quietly, "I'm not here to judge you or your family. But I can't walk away from this." She tilted her head, uncertain. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he replied, "I'm going to help. Not just with milk. With everything." Her brow furrowed in confusion. "Why? You don't even know us." He met her gaze, his voice steady. "Maybe not yet. But I think I'm supposed to." Emma stared at him as if she wasn't sure whether to believe him. People had promised to help before, but those promises had a way of vanishing like steam from a kettle. The man glanced at the clock on the wall. "It was nearly 9 p.m., your mom will be home late, right?" Emma nodded cautiously. "Around midnight." "Then here's what we're going to do," he said, pulling out his phone. "I'm ordering some things, groceries, medicine for Noah, and a heater that actually works." Emma's eyes widened. You can't. It's too much." "It's not too much," he replied firmly. "And I'm not asking for anything in return, except one thing." She waited. "You keep your promise," he said. "Someday, when you're grown, you do something good for someone else who needs it. That's how you'll pay me back." For the first time that night, a shy smile crept across Emma's face. "Deal." Minutes later, bags of food and medicine were on their way, and the man had arranged for a new blanket and small heater to be delivered before morning. He even ordered warm soup from a nearby restaurant, insisting they eat before bed. As Emma ladled the soup into bowls, she asked quietly, "What's your name?" He hesitated, then said, "Daniel." "Thank you, Daniel," she whispered. And though she didn't know it yet, this was the night both of their lives would begin to change forever. The sound of keys jingling in the hallway made Emma's head snap toward the door. Her mother's footsteps were quick but tired, the kind of steps that carried the weight of too many long shifts. When the door opened, a woman in a faded diner uniform stepped inside, shaking the rain from her hair. Her eyes immediately landed on Daniel, a stranger in a suit standing in her living room, and her expression shifted to guarded suspicion. "Emma, who is this?" she asked, setting down her worn handbag. Emma rushed to explain. "Mom, this is Daniel. I met him at the store. He helped us get milk. And other things. For Noah." Her mother's gaze narrowed. Helped you? Why? What does he want? Daniel stepped forward, his tone calm but sincere. Ma'am, I don't want anything. I saw Emma at the store, and she reminded me of someone I used to know. I just wanted to help. Her mother crossed her arms. People don't just help for no reason. Not in this world. I know, Daniel said quietly. Which is why I don't expect you to trust me yet. But I'm not here to take anything from you, only to give. He motioned toward the table, where steaming bowls of soup sat beside fresh groceries. At least let your kids eat tonight. Her eyes flicked to Noah, who was still asleep, his chest rising and falling more easily than before. The smell of the soup filled the room, warm and inviting. After a long pause, her shoulders softened just slightly. All right, she said. But I'm watching you. Emma's mother, whose name Daniel soon learned was Claire, quietly ladled herself a bowl of soup and sat at the small table. Her eyes stayed on him the whole time, as if searching for the real reason behind his presence. Daniel took a seat across from her but didn't touch the food. Claire, he began carefully, you don't know me, and I don't know your family. But something about Emma, it reminded me of my own childhood. I grew up in a place like this. I know how hard it can be. Claire's brow furrowed. And now you're a man in a suit who shops in fancy stores. What happened in between? Daniel exhaled, leaning back slightly. When I was about Emma's age, my mom got sick. We had no money, no family to help. One night, I asked a stranger for help, just like Emma asked me. He gave me what I needed, but I never kept my promise to pay him back. He passed away before I could. Claire's expression softened for the first time. And helping us is how you're making it right? Daniel gave a small nod. Maybe. Or maybe it's more than that. His eyes shifted toward Emma, who was pretending not to listen while feeding Noah a spoonful of soup. Sometimes people are put in our path for a reason. Claire studied him for another moment, then looked away, her voice quieter. We've been trying to hold on, but the rent's overdue. The landlord's been talking about eviction. That was when Daniel realized, this wasn't just about milk or groceries anymore. This was about whether Emma and Noah would even have a home next month. Daniel's jaw tightened. How much do you owe? He asked. Claire's eyes flicked up, startled. That's not something I'm telling a stranger. I understand, he said evenly. But if the landlord's threatening eviction, time isn't on your side. She hesitated, then sighed. 2 months' rent. Plus late fees. It's more than I make in a month, even if I worked every shift they gave me. Daniel leaned forward, his voice steady but urgent. Claire, I'm going to pay it. Her chair scraped against the floor as she sat up straighter. No. Absolutely not. I won't let some man waltz in here and take care of my debts like I'm a charity case. This isn't charity, Daniel replied firmly. It's a promise, one I'm making to your kids. They deserve a home. They deserve stability. And you deserve a chance to breathe. Claire shook her head, torn between pride and desperation. Why are you doing this? You don't even know us. Daniel's voice dropped. Because once, someone did it for me. And I've spent my whole life wishing I could thank him. I can't, but I can thank him by helping someone else. Emma, who had been listening from the couch, piped up. Mom, maybe this is what you told me about. How sometimes good things happen when you least expect them. Claire's eyes glistened, her resolve starting to crack. She whispered, I don't know if I can accept this. You don't have to decide right now, Daniel said softly. But I'm not walking away. The rain had stopped by morning, but the air still held that heavy, damp chill. Daniel stood outside the apartment building, phone in hand, waiting for someone to pick up. When the landlord finally answered, his tone was sharp. What do you want? If you're calling about 3B, they're already on their way out. Daniel's voice was calm, but firm. Not anymore. I'm covering everything they owe, plus the next 3 months in advance. I'll send the transfer today. The landlord paused, clearly stunned. You serious? Dead serious, Daniel said. And in return, I want it in writing that you won't harass them again. No more threats, no surprise inspections. If they're late in the future, you call me first. There was a long silence. Then the landlord grunted, fine. As long as the money's there. It will be, Daniel replied, ending the call. When he went upstairs, he found Claire at the small kitchen table, sipping coffee. Emma was getting Noah ready for school. I spoke to your landlord, Daniel said casually. Claire's eyes widened. You didn't, I did, he interrupted gently. You're caught up on rent, and you're covered for the next 3 months. That means no eviction, no more threats. You can focus on your family instead of the clock ticking over your head. She set her cup down slowly, her hands trembling. Daniel. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, he said with a faint smile. Just keep your promise. One day, when you can, help someone else. Emma beamed at him, and for the first time since they'd met, Claire didn't look suspicious, she looked relieved. Later that week, Daniel found himself back at their apartment, carrying a bag of books for Emma and a small puzzle set for Noah. He'd told himself he was just checking in, but the truth was, something about this family had gotten under his skin. When Claire opened the door, she looked less tired than before. Come in, she said, her voice softer now. Emma's been waiting for you. Emma ran over, clutching a folded piece of paper. I made you something. She handed it to him, a hand-drawn picture of herself, Noah, and Daniel standing together, smiling. Underneath, she had written in block letters, "Thank you for believing me." Daniel's chest tightened. I'll keep this forever, he said, carefully tucking it into his jacket pocket. As they sat down, Claire brought out a small box from the top shelf of a cabinet. I've been meaning to show you this, she said, opening it. Inside was a faded photograph of a young man in his 20s, wearing a diner apron. His eyes were bright, and his smile was the same one Emma had. That's my father, Claire said. He passed away before Emma was born. He was the kind of man who'd help anyone, even strangers. Daniel froze. His breath caught as he stared at the photo. He knew that face. Claire, he said slowly, his voice almost a whisper. I knew him. She blinked. You, what? Daniel nodded, his voice thick. He was the stranger who helped me when I was a kid. The one I never got to repay. Claire's hand covered her mouth, her eyes wide. You're telling me, this is how you're paying him back? Daniel looked toward Emma, who was watching them curiously, then back at Claire. I guess. I was meant to find you. The room fell into a deep, almost sacred silence. Claire's eyes shimmered as she tried to process what Daniel had just said. Emma looked between them, sensing that something important had just happened. Daniel leaned back, still staring at the faded photograph. Your father, he saved me. I was hungry, scared, and ready to give up. He gave me food, told me to keep going, and said that one day, I'd have the chance to do the same for someone else. I never forgot his words. Claire's voice wavered. And now you're here, helping his children. Daniel smiled faintly. I guess I've finally kept my promise. Emma, her small hands folded in her lap, looked up at him with determination. Then I'm going to make one, too. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Oh. And what's that? She straightened her back. Someday, when I'm grown, I'm going to help someone the way you helped us. I'll pay it forward, just like you did. Daniel's chest tightened, a warmth spreading through him that no amount of wealth had ever given him before. That, he said quietly, is the best kind of promise there is. Claire reached across the table and placed her hand over his. For the first time since they'd met, there was no suspicion, only gratitude, respect, and an unspoken bond. That night, as Daniel left their apartment, the air felt different. The rain had stopped, the sky was clearing, and somewhere deep inside, he knew he'd not only repaid an old debt, he'd started something that would outlive them all. And back inside the small apartment, Emma whispered to Noah as he drifted off to sleep, "One day, we'll help someone, too." The promise had come full circle,